Chapter 1 Ruby Speaks by Margot Van Sluytman. I am Ruby, goddess of the moon, round, full, transformed and soothed by decay, a composite of ideals shaping my fears into my mythology. I am not to be silenced. This is how my change began. Helen Keller, the remarkable woman who was blind and deaf from the age of 5, gave me words. Via a quotation of hers that I read one day, I started, as if new, to see. She said, "Character is like the fire within the flint, latent until it is struck out of the stone. Observing the flint stone, who would think it contained the possibility of light?" And so it is with the dark experiences of life, and it is only us, individually, that decide what that darkness is, even without quite knowing the reasons for its being. And then we must learn to let the light enter. When they are met with courage, they give out sparks of spiritual light. After I read her words, I added, "And they make all things possible." How the words began to come, speech of another sort, with thought so strong, so pungent, that I felt I would never again surface to know fresh air and sun. I decided to assume the responsibility of guiding my soul to its path. And the method was simple. I eventually learned that I was loving. I learned to love myself. I learned that I could evolve from the great hurts and deceptions that marred my might to a time of tenderness, to a time of gladness. As though waddling, then jumping, then leaping from rock to rock, from one side of a wide and seemingly unbreachable expanse, I found myself getting, with all of the weight of too many uncertainties, across that expanse. And I moved with unpracticed, newly found dexterity over time. Earnestly, even as certain thoughts kept trying to hold me back, attempting to stay hidden in my subconscious. Sometimes they did. For a while I was stymied and stuck. Sometimes my feet slipped upon the green and slippery moss of one of those figurative stones I had to leap upon one by one in order to breach that expanse. Often I fell, yet I hauled myself up. I started again. A haze of questions had planted itself in my mind. So many unthought thoughts floated in me and begged to be recognized, to be heard, out loud, some rude, some brash, some risque, edgy, funny, out loud, as if breathing my soul into the wind of change before me. They came. I could no longer keep them bottled up. I could censor no more. All of the visions, bleak, black, heavy, drab, grey, chanted from my soul in a voice that would not be ignored. Free us! Free us! To be spilled and spewed in order that I might move on, move ahead, is what they cried out for me to move in a direction that did not include denial of anything I knew, in a direction that ensured that when my end came, I would know that I was whole. Blues and yellows began to salsa, to rumba, to dance in the moonlight. If I have had few friends, it is because I did not like people. The fact of the matter is, that was the language I used in order to free myself from too much pain, because I did like people very much. Yet, I did not believe that it was possible to have depth of relating, depth of understanding with many, many individuals. I had what I called the fortitude to nurture only a small number of friendships. It has always been my friends, real, authentic, and few, that have given my days richness. My friends who have saved me, pointed me in a new direction when the old one was too rigid, too harsh. Friends helped me when times were difficult. Once, a woman told me that I was too rude and too brash, and that is why I am so widely disliked. I felt a surge of profound wonder. It had never occurred to me that I was not liked. Her opinion mattered, yet her words catapulted me to the fact that the ones who know and love me, and my children, as we are, with what we say and how we say our piece, are the only ones that matter. I was not old when I heard these words, but I knew then that a subtle change had begun in me. I decided to own my truths, my knowings, and I also reassessed my manner, thinking about the way in which my actions and reactions were in fact reflecting a person that I did not always wish to be. And I knew that my decisions about how to love and be loved were not all wrong, though they needed to and could include a poignant injection of tenderness. To myself and to those I did treasure. Her words were part of a necessary change that permitted me sun, that permitted me sight. Where did I begin? I know where I will end. Perhaps if this physical pain deep in my body reveals itself. Was it in another country lifetimes ago, in the dream of my great-great-great-grandmother that I took form, or even before that time? Was it in the caves of some distant land? Am I the remnants of a beast from the great walls of Lascaux, from the plains of dreams wherein strange animals ran, small horses where the sky held large and deformed-looking birds, or simply with sperm and egg? Naturally, we all begin with sperm and egg. But the whys and the wheres and the wherefores take their root in infinitesimal spaces, places of reasoning, of passion and stupidity and haste, of fleeting loves, in wretched and wild spaces, piecing together the facts and the features of a tangible veracity, for my life is important to me. That, for me, is not the making of some inconsequential history, some fleeting manner of walking in my days as I mother my children and mine my life to learn all that it requires of me. As Palomo flies, there are bones hanging in my mind, the brittle and harsh carcasses that want to be refleshed, reclothed, reborn. Even as I feel that my own flesh will rot soon, these bones are pressing, Even as the veins of my legs begin to swell and turn a somber purple, the birth of the ideas in my mind proves interesting. Such is birth. Birth demanding too. Conforming to the known rhythms of birthing is not to be taken lightly. Of the jumbled and jarring and jangling, of hate and pain and strife, of unparalleled myth and magic, is what birthing is. Mirth too, from thought to feeling to thought to feeling, of homes and loving and tasting sweet flesh and grieving and groaning, languishing and losing. Of all this is what the answers I need consist, is what the form of the words I will scribe will take. And small gardens must be planted, and the weapons to which I have turned when I have not loved myself enough, loved my children with greater patience, with softer resolve, have been tossed, and tight, tight knots have been loosened and untied. As though I have never seen before, I began with the slow and delicate process to the end, an ending that will permit me the gift of one last son. I am walking towards this end with great ease and renewed, newly minted happiness, the end of self-hatred, the end of self-loathing, the end of too heavy a burden of dodging love, of assuming the character of the wounded one, the one who has tasted too much coldness. For out of all that has felt so cold, so swiftly and neatly packaged with rage and fear and severe disorder, grows hope, profound hope, and new-sightedness. Of a pattern of understanding, grave, simple, and subtle necessities, is that from which my ideas will spring. And as I turn my way from one view of life, one particular place, one street, one family and friends, I take a step into my life, into and around all of the moves and migrations of my soul that have brought me to recognize the luscious imprints of time here, traveling upon a course towards change, towards a new story, languishing, losing, learning, accepting what is, at times not accepting what is. And my Miguel tasted snow long before our time of knowing each other. Let me tell you of some things. I spew them fast. I spew them furiously. For even to remember some of my actions, my mad insecurities, my rough flashes of insanity, make me shiver. I feel sympathy for she who was. But I accept the entire fact of the reality that is me, and I know that she was no more Satan than she is now saint. And I know that growth happens. Such things that filled me and moved me in a manner that was hard and cold, such things are now in perspective. Things that filled me up at a time just before my last son was born. Time offers growth. Time is wisdom's way of reaching you, filling you with the drunk pleasure of knowing that to be part of the whole, and to be indeed whole yourself, is an opportunity, a gift, a blessing that must be embraced. A real friend, blossoms sprout where once lay barren, dry graves, where once lay blood and sores and sadness. There is, after all, no great death. There is the opportunity for a good life. And the crotons and the poticas and the poppies and the little red roses that turn towards the sun, like the brilliantly, brilliantly bright Yellow sunflowers begin to bloom and bloom and bloom, and Ruby begins to speak.